This is episode 53 of the After Gambling podcast. And in this episode, we're going to talk about how it's literally impossible to win at the game of gambling. Hey there, and welcome to the After Gambling podcast. My name is Jamie. And the last time I gambled was July 15th of 2010. Now, the title of today's episode, How You Literally Cannot Win at the Game of Gambling, is sure to draw some attention. I'm sure it's going to get some smirks and some eye raises and some questioning. And so, let me explain. Over the past few weeks, I was doing my normal kind of YouTube in the morning, listening to some content, some people that I like to listen to that have good thoughts and energy. And one of those is an author named Sinek. And Simon was talking about his new book, which came out in the fall. It's called The Infinite Game. And as he was describing it, I thought, you know what? This is just like gambling. And there's so much application to gambling. And you see, what Simon was talking about is based on game theory. And basically, there are just two types of games. There are finite games and infinite games. A finite game is one that's defined as known players, fixed rules, and an objective. So think of most sports: soccer, football, golf. You know the players, you play by a certain set of rules, and there's an objective. There's a time limit, you start the game, you end the game, and then based on the rules, you declare a winner. That's a finite game. Now, an infinite game is a little different. It's defined as known and unknown players. Rules are changeable, and the objective is to just keep the game going. And the example Simon uses is business. There's no way to win business. You're either ahead or behind, but you never win. Apple is winning, they're ahead, but they haven't won because the game's not over. There are always new players. You don't know who the next person is that's going to come in and replace Apple or replace Facebook or replace these prominent places like Amazon. And the rules are changeable. You're not playing by one set of rules. Amazon is focusing on the online. Maybe somebody comes along with a whole new way of delivering that changes the game. So the rules are changeable. And the objective is just to keep going, to stay in the game as long as possible. Basically, you're trying to outlast people. So you have those two games, finite and infinite. And then Simon started to dive into what happens when you play a game and it's finite versus finite, the system's stable. Because everybody's playing by the same set of rules. They know who the players are, and they know what the objective is. And so that's a stable system. And then when you pit an infinite player versus an infinite player, it's also stable. So this is business. I mean, like I was talking earlier, social media, Instagram versus some other upcomer, Snapchat. It's a stable system because there aren't set rules, but everybody's just trying to stay in it. They're trying to play. They're trying to continue to play. And so the system remains stable. Now, where things get messy is when you have one player that's a finite player, and they're playing against somebody that's an infinite player. Because one is playing to win, and the other is just playing to keep playing. Now, as Simon describes, when you have a finite player versus an infinite player, the system is not stable. And invariably, what happens is the finite player finds themselves in quagmire until they drop out of the game and leave the game because they've run out of either the will or the resources to stay in the game. Because when one player is playing to win, but the other person is just playing to extend the game, the player that is playing to win eventually just runs out of energy. Like Simon says, run out of resources. In our case, it's money. We run out of resources. And so I think you probably see where I'm going with this. The finite player is the gambler. They think they're playing a game that's finite with fixed rules and known players, them versus the house, and an objective to win. And I would say that's true in a very small micro of a single bet, a single wager, a single game. That yes, you can win at one of those single games. But that's not the game that the infinite player is playing. That's not the game that the house is playing. The house is just playing to continue on. They know that they just need to keep the game going, keep the game churning forward. They're going to wear out the finite player that runs out of the money or the will to keep playing the game. And the house has this odds stacked in their advantage, right? So as the game goes on, it becomes even more and more likely that they're going to win because the math says that they're going to win. And not only that, they have an unlimited amount of resources in order to continue to stay in the game. The finite gambler is never going to be able to win against the infinite house. Now, at first, as I was thinking about this, I thought, you know what? The only way to win is to quit. And that was going to be the title of this. Okay, the only way to win the game or to lose the game as the gambler is to quit. I've talked about before that everything looked up for me once I accepted that I lost the game. I kind of dropped out. But right before I was doing this episode, and that was literally going to be the backbone of the message, I realized something. It's just not true. Because just like in business, you're either ahead or behind. And I'm behind. I'm no longer in the game, but the game's still going on. And I could easily jump back into the game. And that's what relapse is. And that's why I'm so cautious to make sure that I keep my guard up, that I have barriers in place so I don't have a desire or an opportunity to get back into the game, because the game goes on until death. And so that's really the takeaway. The only time you can win or lose when it comes to gambling is at death. Because at that point, now the game is over. There is no possible way to continue on the game as the finite player. So at that point, you can be declared a winner or a loser, but at that point, you're dead. So I'm not sure what the big attraction is at that point. So yes, when you are the finite player and you're up against the infinite player, the house, there is literally no way to win or lose while you're still alive. You may be ahead or you may be behind, but there's no way to win. So what's the takeaway? Hopefully this is just eye-opening and you realize that, yes, you're playing a different game. You're playing to win when the house is playing an infinite game. They're just playing to keep you coming back. And the more that you just keep coming back, the more the house has the advantage in the game. So hopefully this is just eye-opening. It's something that you think about. It just changes your view of gambling and the fact that, okay, you played to win when you realize there's no possible way to win. You're just ahead or you're behind. And I think this is also interesting when you start looking at some of the things that the house does, the infinite player does, to keep the game going. Rewards programs, bonus deposits, VIP treatment. You have chips because they don't want you to think about it as money. So they use digital currency. We talked about before, casinos use carpet that's ugly, allegedly to keep your eyes looking up in the direction of machines or games. They give you drinks. All these things, when you look at it, it's just to keep the person playing. Because they know the longer the game goes, the more they churn, eventually the other person's going to lose the will or the resources to continue playing the game, and they're going to drop out. And I think this is also interesting because you start talking about counting cards or limiting bets for sports bettors. The game, we think it's a fixed game. We think that the rules are set, but they're not. And the rules keep changing, and the house can keep changing the rules in order to extend the length of the game, to keep the game going against players that maybe get an edge. So, like I say, I just think this is a very eye-opening for me. Even now, it was something that was kind of an aha light bulb moment. Wow, it is. It's two completely different games. You have two sides, and they're both engaged in a different game. And unfortunately for the finite player, the gambler, they're playing a game that's impossible to win. The house always wins. And so once you realize that they're playing an infinite game, you're playing a finite game, there's no way to really win. You're just ahead or behind. Hopefully that kind of takes away some of that thought, those errors of thought that you can win. Because you're not. You're just ahead. And then we know the saying, all wins are just future losses. Because again, if you continue on, the house has the advantage. And so that money will get pulled out and they will win in the long run. Because they're playing the infinite game. The game that never ends and has rules that change in order to help the game continue on into the future. I hope this was as eye-opening as it was for me. I apologize for taking a couple weeks off. I needed to get some things done personally. I'll probably continue to have some little stretches where I don't have podcasts coming out, but know that I'm thinking about you. Hopefully you're getting the support you need. You're putting up those barriers and you're reaching out. Like I say, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an attorney. Please reach out. Get professional help. You deserve it. This is 2019. Make this the year that you don't gamble. And even if it's the middle of January and you're just starting now, go back to that one a couple episodes ago. It doesn't matter when you start. The key is that you start. So hopefully this helps you. Hopefully the podcast help you. Hopefully getting on Reddit, Discord, Twitter, all those different places, it helps you start to share your story in 2019. You deserve it. Life is good when you don't gamble. Thanks for listening. And as always, music for the show is Something Elated by Broke for Free and is licensed under the Creative Commons license. I'm Jamie. Last time I gambled was July 15th of 2010, and I will see you in the next episode.